And now we can see. So I'm looking at BTC USD hourly on Coinbase.
On Coinbase, you said?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So first things first, I think just with the Fisher open, it looks like that the 6 length of Fisher is not working great for the 1 hour right now. It's a little jagged. So let's try a slightly longer length. 7, 8, 9.
Yeah, I had mine defaulted to 9.
Yeah, 9 or 10 are looking good. 11 is decent. Yeah, you don't want it on 9 right now. As for the hourly, check out 20.
All right, let's try Fisher on 20. Yeah, that seems pretty accurate. We got the crossover. Let's see here. Maybe 2 bars behind that lower wick, but still for this low level of volatility, that's still not bad.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And you know what I'm interested in here is the Fisher fell back below 0, but it could climb back over. What I'm looking for is to see the crossover where it tops below 0 here, and then we would just kiss it goodbye. And at that point, we probably fall through 6K if that happened. Here.
Where we top below the Fisher, right? Where we top below the 0 line is what you're saying.
Yes, it's saying top below the 0 line.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for too, and I think that's ultimately more likely, and I think we'll see that as we zoom out to look at some of these bigger time frames. But my overall sentiment, I think overall is to the downside, and
Yeah, but I can't help but wonder. I mean, someone is providing all this market support, and it seems kind of. I mean, like, surely these institutional traders would not be buying at this level if they weren't, fairly certain that Bitcoin weren't going to break farther, or that someone would be providing enough support for long enough that it wouldn't break farther below.
I have a theory, and I'm not. I'll just work this out live in my head with you, and you can tell me whether you think I'm completely crazy.
All right.
But I mean, we're well aware that the majority of the volume on these exchanges for the professional traders is automated. So what we're often doing is tracking bot volume, and very rarely are we actually tracking the activities of real humans pushing buttons, because those are your retail traders, and generally our professionals are going to be mostly automated. I'm sure you've got some professionals out there, or not even professionals, but individuals with large accounts that are doing it all themselves. But I think overwhelmingly the massive amount of volume is mostly automated, because that's the best technology for maximizing profits is to use automated trading. So what I think we're seeing right here is a lot of support. Now I think there was a lot of human activity of people that had their limit orders set down here in the low 6100 to 6200 range, where you can see we clearly found support. What I'm concerned about is we know through things like quantitative easing, the reason that volatility has decreased in global markets is because that influx of cash has reduced the volatility of all asset classes, because it began in currency and then got pushed into securities, which got pushed into equities, options, forex, and then crypto. It seems to be the last asset class that gets all that extra cash pushed into it. And when you have all that extra cash, just like if you, it's similar to having more market participants, and that there's more
Yep.
willing buyers and sellers at every level. So that decreases volatility, reduces risk and reward. Um, and I think that this global, kind of flash crash type panic, if it grows a little bit more, you know, just like we saw the stock markets fall 3 to 4%, the Dow Jones Industrial, the S&P
Yeah.
500, the euro dollar, but if you look, you'll see the securities fall first, then the forex the forex options fall second, and then traditional options fall after that, and then cryptocurrency was 3 or 4 hours behind traditional markets. So what I'm concerned about is if we see a bigger move down in the global markets, we're on a delay. So what happens when individuals who aren't doing automated trading, but institutional traders who have a lot of holdings, they're not dumping their Bitcoin holdings, but they have to reduce their risk to manage their portfolio. And if they have to manage their
Okay.
portfolio due to the global market and their position overall in the market, they're going to have to reduce their size in cryptocurrency. And so what happens when that
Yeah.
happens I think that would be the impetus to push us below 6,000. Does that make sense? Do you feel what I'm saying?
Yes. Well, I mean, if it happens in that way, I certainly have my doubts about the. It feels like just another kind of hopium to say, oh well, when the traditional markets crash, then people will race into crypto. It's like
Right.
no, when traditional markets crash, people are going to race into USD because they don't know any difference.
Right.
We need much greater market adoption um, before we'll get to the point where people are like, oh, I need to store my money in this super volatile asset class, Bitcoin. Which I mean, let's face it. Like if you are looking for a it's something someplace if you are a traditional investor and you're looking for something that's not risky to put your money in while the market is crashing, then Bitcoin is not going to be your first thought, especially after the bear market we just had. Uh, you there?
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I do think that is a lot of hopium. People thinking that when the global markets crash, this will be the impetus for people rushing into Bitcoin. In fact, I have, I was thinking about this too the other day. Tell me what you think about this. I was thinking that that Bitcoin crashing would actually be the impetus for more widespread adoption, for it to actually be seen as a here's this one of the biggest like Noriel Rabini was saying this, and by the way, that dude is absolutely garbage, man. That dude's complete garbage. I loved. Did you see Vitalik Buterin's basically slam on him because he's like uh,
Go ahead.
so Noriel Rabini was the individual who was appearing in front of the Senate banking the other day, and it's just
Yeah.
has been a hater of cryptocurrency for a long time, calling it a scam, saying it's completely unusable. Nobody uses this but criminals. Just all the old garbage that we thought we had gotten away from in like 2014,
Yeah.
that we thought we had educated people on. And luckily, the United States senators were much smarter than him, it appeared. However, one of the interesting and so um, what what Vitalik Buterin said. Well, one of the reasons that Nouriel Roubini is considered intelligent or reputable is that he predicted, quote unquote, the financial crisis of 2008 2009. It didn't take a genius to do that. There were thousands of people doing that, and there's thousands of people predicting a financial crisis every minute. So all you have to do is spread FUD, and eventually you're right. And if you're right, then you can be considered a genius. So
Yeah.
Vitalik Buterin put out a tweet saying, "I'm predicting a financial crisis between now and like 2022, not because I see any reason for it, but just because if it happens, that way I can be considered a financial genius like Nouriel Roubini."
That's hilarious.
So I was thinking,
Um,
go ahead.
I feel like I saw a tweet where Nouriel Roubini had bought Bitcoin like back in like 2013 and lost a bunch of money on it.
So that's why he hates it.
Yeah, I think so. Gosh, I wish I could find that.
So he's just mad at all the crypto nerds who actually had the belief or the passion
Yeah,
to hold their
exactly.
Bitcoin and weather the market. And he's like, "Oh, that could have been me. I'm mad because I'm not a super millionaire."
I think he owned it. I think he held it from like $30 down to like $3 or something like that.
What an idiot.
Hey,
So,
could happen to the best of us. I mean, certainly a lot of us here are bag holders after this last bear market.
hell, one of the most intelligent people I know in Bitcoin bought at 18,000 and is completely happy about it.
You think so?
Well,
You
I
still
mean,
happy?
that's what he says because he says that, well, this individual thinks that dollar cost averaging is stupid. And the reason why is because if you take an asset that you know on average goes up, so if you look at the history of Bitcoin and you
Yeah.
know that uh, over time, like 80% of the time, it always goes up, right?
I found it.
Okay, you found the tweet.
Here, hold on.
If you put it in the Hangouts, I'll open up a different link.
Oh, and Hangouts? Okay. I don't think I can send a picture right now.
Oh, you have to send me the link.
Oh, okay, one second. I add an image of it, so
You can send me the image on Discord and I can open the original.
um, well, it's in the mods only section on our Discord.
Okay, yeah, I'll just click that and then I can click open original.
Yeah.
And all right, let's see here. And then window capture the screenshot. Boom, okay. There we go. Says here, in good company with gold at Convert Bond, while everyone was focused on gold and silver, Bitcoin dropped another 40%, traded below 58 bucks. Oh, you stupid poor man, you.
I bet this guy sold the bottom.
Rest in peace. No, he's just bad. So he's just mad that he's a bad investor. So, so in the spirit of that, what do you think of this? I was thinking how one of the biggest complaints or one of the biggest critiques of Bitcoin is that it can't be used as a currency because it's not a because it has no stability, right?
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this. What if when we experience this next big financial crisis, Bitcoin experiences a significant devaluation? I'm talking maybe sub 3,000, right?
Okay.
And what that and but so do asset classes across the board: securities, equities, option markets, CFDs, swap contracts. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
Everything just takes a massive hit. And current and then we start to see the currency devaluation. We're already seeing the socio-political aspects of it with breakdown in America and Europe and I mean we're already seeing these things. So and that's the big thing. If your currency is okay, then the markets can recover. But when the
Yeah.
markets collapse and your currency is so devalued and debased that now there's social chaos, whoo, bad news bears. And that's when people start looking for an alternative to traditional fiat currencies. So if Bitcoin gets devalued down to the point where it becomes essentially no longer a speculative asset, because nobody's looking for speculative assets because everything's crashing across the board. So in general, the general public is just gone on investment because they don't believe that anything's going to be worth anything. And people are just looking for something that's safe to store their money in, that the government isn't eating all the money away, because the government will just start eating its own tail at that point, to pay off its own
Okay.
debts and just to fund its own largesse. So Bitcoin falls below 3,000 and basically reaches an equilibrium where the cost of one Bitcoin is exactly what it costs to mine it, or perhaps even at a significant discount. So miners are mining at a
Okay.
loss. So that would open up competition for mining because a lot of big mining pools would step out. You'd have new miners come in. And that way the price of Bitcoin would stabilize because nobody's looking at anything as a speculative investment. And people just start using Bitcoin now as a place to actually keep their money away from government taxation. And it's not really going up with all this new influx of people coming in because miners are selling off their Bitcoin because they're operating at a discount just to stay alive and eat ramen noodles. So you have this constant pressure up and down to reach a fair market value equilibrium. So funnily enough, the absolute crash of Bitcoin off the charts right now, all the way to the downside, would actually be the impetus for it to become widespread adoption and used as currency.
It's an interesting theory. I wonder if it would play out that way. I don't know. I feel like there's enough institutional attention on blockchain that even if the price of Bitcoin crashed, along with all other, the markets, I, I don't think I don't think people's opinion would change on its tradability.
Oh, hey, there's Scott watching us. What's going on, Scott?
Hey, Scott.
We just got to go over the latest in conspiracy theory, Scott. Hey, Alex, can you turn a light on? Because you're all dark, brother.
I'm breathing deep the darkness that envelops my soul.
Hello, darkness. Oh, there you go. Look how handsome he is, guys. Everybody give a round of applause for Alex. He's definitely the most handsome Kraken Crypto moderator.
That's right. This guy, he's so handsome. Why does he spend all his time online?
Why does
I
he
don't understand it either, guys.
do that? Because we're dedicated to becoming financially independent, and that is a long-term process.
For real though, I mean, who wants like I deal with customers all day long at work, and as much as I like talking to people, it's a different story when there's the power dynamics of customer retail relationships and all that.
Absolutely.
Dude, yesterday I had some guy call my cell phone, and I saw it was an in-town number, so I thought, okay, it's either a spammer or it's a customer. But it turned out to be this this really angry man who's like, "Why'd you call my girlfriend in the middle of the night?" And I'm like, listen, I haven't called anyone like all week, so it was probably a spam number or something like that." And this dude just went off on me. He was like, oh, wow, don't fucking lie to me, blah blah blah. I was like, listen, dude, my name's Alex Pearson. I live in Highland Park. If you want, come kick my ass. Other than that, this conversation is over.
And the snap, or excuse me, the surprise twist of that is that he said, "Well, actually, listen, I've had an accident. If you could just send me some Bitcoin, I'd feel a lot better." And he was actually some Nigerian hot boy trying to scam you in the first place.
And at that point, I noticed that this scammer was 300 feet tall and green. And I said to myself, you lock this monster, you get out of here. I ain't giving you no 350.
I ain't giving you 350. All right, so
An oldie but goodie.
definitely, definitely. All right, so you feel like doing some technical analysis?
let's get back to it. Yes.
All right. Now, I can't see your chart, so unless you share your screen, I could widescreen it, and or we can just assume that we're looking at the same exchanges and hopefully be.
Well, we know we're both looking at Bitcoin USD 1 hour on Coinbase right now.
All right. And I've got Fisher as you recommended on the 20. So we
I
had already.
actually think 24 is a little better.
All right. Let's take a look at 24. So we had already discussed what we're looking at here. Unfortunately, we're looking at the potential of the Fisher transform bottoming under zero. And what does that say? What is that an indication of for the people who may not know there, Alex?
Okay, well, what the Fisher transform, like, I think the first most important question is, what is the Fisher transform measuring? So, yeah, obviously, each indicator uses different mathematical formulas to transform price into into another visual method of determining what's going on in the underlying the market that is causing price to like act this way. So as we know, that allows you to see weakness or strength in price that might not be apparent in the price action, but is apparent in the way price is moving relative to itself over time. You know, relative strength index, stochastic, all that is measuring price against itself over like a span of time. So what the Fisher transform does is, uh, so the way price distributes itself is reminiscent of a sine wave. You know, it tends to move like this over time. The problem with sine waves is that it is not apparent when you reach the top or the bottom of the sine wave because I mean it gently curves. So you're like, well, it could be here, here, here. You know, where was the bottom? What the Fisher transform does is it changes the distribution of prices from that sine wave curve to a Gaussian distribution, or AKA a bell curve. And so we all know bell curve. You know, it looks like this, and it's got those little tails at the end. So what this change by changing the distribution of prices, that allows you to see the outliers. So you be like, wow, that was the top or that was the bottom, because you know the most of the prices are going to be distributed in the you know in the curve part rather than you know the tail part where the outliers are. So the Fisher transform makes it a lot easier to see where the markets and the tops are, and because it's a lot an oscillator indicator, it also has divergences and trend lines, much like a lot of the other oscillator indicators do. So I find the Fisher transform to be an incredibly useful indicator because it gets you your entries and your exits with super minimal lag. There's like 1 to 2 candle lag, and it also has the neat feature of, because you're looking at the distribution of prices, the Fisher will tend to say over zero for the majority of an uptrend and below zero for the majority of a downtrend, and that includes uh, bottoming above zero during an uptrend and bottoming and topping below zero during a downtrend. Uh, so I use it as a sign that an uptrend may be beginning when you see Fisher pop up and it'll come down, bounce off a zero, and then you know it'll just stay above it. And you all see me talk about it, and I posted charts and stuff. But though that's the this general groundwork of you know the diff. Those are just a few different ways that I use it and why I use it.
Excellent. I think that's a great summary. Yeah, and you've been. I mean, you initially had turned me on to the Fisher transform, and it's become an extremely reliable indicator for me. I wanted to reach out to a point. I didn't see the comment right away, but Leonard Ben made a comment that he said, "Man, there is better value to be got with some fab ecosystems out there. I could name a few. It's not all about Bitcoin." What do you think about that, Alex?
Well, no, it's not all about Bitcoin, but currently Bitcoin dominates the market, and the market often tends to follow Bitcoin in direction. So we're looking at Bitcoin right now, not not solely as like where's Bitcoin going next, but more like where is the market as a whole going next? Because let's face it, if Bitcoin breaks through 6,000, it is going to take the alt market with it. People are going to start pulling everything out.
Yeah.
So that's really what we're more interested in right now is that aspect of Bitcoin rather than just what's Bitcoin price doing. It's like what is the market as a whole going to do?
I agree with you. I think coming at it from my perspective, I I would prefer not to get into the issue. I think it's I mean, obviously there's intelligent and lively debate to be had over market and why is the market moving this way or moving that way. Obviously, that's kind of what we do. That's kind of our job here, Alex. Uh,
Yeah.
but if we're just talking about an ecosystem, I think that the foundation of an ecosystem, a financial ecosystem, is going to be your currency. So you have to have a strong currency that your community, that your society is going to adopt and and utilize, and that is also a correct tool and efficient for the market. It has to be an efficient type of currency. The reason why I think that Bitcoin is the future at this moment in time is because, in my eyes, from all the study that I've done, and I've analyzed it quite a bit. I've studied the history of currency, the history of gold, the potential use cases of gold, the history of central banking, the history of the global financial markets, the history of globalization. And to me, there is no superior technological solution to the issue of human beings utilizing one common thing for trade to facilitate trade, and that's what money is. Money is one thing. It is a liquid, fungible asset that is used to facilitate trade in the best way possible. Because if you have multiple things, that's not money. You have barter. And if you have one thing that is inefficient as opposed to something else, then naturally human beings are going to migrate from that inefficient method of transaction to the more efficient method of transaction. And right now, that inefficient method of transaction is fiat, and the efficient method of transaction is Bitcoin. Now, if something comes along that is better than Bitcoin, then I would be inclined to believe that that is going to be the future of money. But right now, I don't see a better technological solution than Bitcoin. I don't see anything. Um, the idea that Bitcoin is too slow for mainstream adoption is a critique that I am open to hearing. However, that is why Lightning Network is being developed, and it gets a little bit better every single day. Lightning Network right now is live, and you can use it, and it can handle more transactions than the Visa network per second. It's also cheaper than the Visa network per transaction. Um, and
And as much as people complain about Bitcoin, uses less electricity than the Visa network.
uses less electricity, and also it's more secure. There's nothing more secure if you use the Bitcoin network properly. There's nothing more secure than Bitcoin, and that's my personal problem with other altcoins. I'm a trader, so I trade the markets. But when I'm looking at a currency and I look at other blockchains and the way they're structured, I see a lot of security flaws. Even in something like Litecoin, which have the block, which doubled the amount of transactions per block, have the, or excuse me, cut the block time in half, and that's a security flaw. And if you listen to the developers of Bitcoin, they'll tell you exactly why that's a security flaw. The block size. People say that the block limit, the 1 megabyte block limit, was chosen arbitrarily by Satoshi Nakamoto. It wasn't. If you go back and read Satoshi Nakamoto's early commentary on it, it was actually chosen for security reasons to avoid spamming of the network. So, but that's speculation. I'm just saying that what I believe is that human beings will adopt the best technological solution to currency, and I think that Bitcoin is the best technological solution to currency right now. And I think that it's just gonna, it's gonna grow. It's gonna get better and better. We're definitely in the early stages. Using things like
My opinion is somewhat different. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist in that Bitcoin is a beautiful, amazing proof of concept writ large. It's got the first mover advantage. It has a lot of institutional backing, but the technology is a little older compared to what is going on with some of the other blockchains. Now it is my understanding that having spoken to you, Justin, or yeah, Jay, that uh, that the Bitcoin devs have looked at a lot of the other technologies, and if it's not a part of Bitcoin yet, then it's because they have deemed it's just it's just not ready yet or not there yet. But at the same time, when you look at technologies like Stellar, I feel like Stellar is going to be a much better currency for day to day usage, and that ultimately Bitcoin it will not only continue to survive but thrive as a speculative store of asset in the same way that gold is today. But gold isn't really used as a currency per se. Now, you sure if you have like a really big bill, you could get someone to agree to like have it paid in gold or something like that. And I'm sure there are plenty of people that would gladly accept gold as payments because I mean gold is a wonderful store of value. Um, but it's it doesn't have the same fungibility as normal cash, and in that way, I don't think Bitcoin has the same fungibility as some of the other distributive ledger technologies like Stellar does. I don't know. I'm very bullish on Stellar recently,
Sure,
especially with
sure.
IBM, sort of like adopting Stellar as their primary payment system that they're building upon. I it's got faster transactions, it's got cheaper transactions. It's yeah. So I think I've said my opinion. So there you
No,
go.
absolutely. I definitely see that. To answer your question, Scott, I think that, and to comment on what Alex just said as well, I think that there's definitely technology moves forward, and whatever human beings are going to need to facilitate the easier use of their currency is what we're going to see on whatever platform rises to the top. The only reason I am I still think that in spite of all the technological innovations that I've seen other blockchains do, which I completely agree with you on, Alex. I think that Lumens is faster. Lumens does have some amazing things going for them. However, they're just not. That's speed and 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 cool flashy things and features are not does not just a blockchain and secure currency make. I think the most important thing is security, and I don't see any more secure blockchain network than Bitcoin. So what I'm looking for in the future is for Bitcoin to adopt some of these for Bitcoin to adopt some of these technological innovations, and we see that happening right now with Lightning Network. Now it's completely possible that it happens in reverse. Like let's say that
My
still.
problem with the Lightning Network is that it's centralized. I mean, it destroys Bitcoin's decentralization. I mean,
So
so with the way the channels work, you're pretty like all these channels, like especially the larger ones in Lightning Network, they are going to have know your customer. Like it's just like there's no way that the governments of the world are going to let Bitcoin continue to exist, especially once Lightning Network goes active, without some sort of KYC. It's just it's too big. I know that the American government, at least, has been taking like a wait and see approach on the various blockchain technologies. And some other governments like Malta are a bit more bullish on blockchains. They're like, whatever, let's just make some money on this for our country. But with all that money moving around, they are going to want the ability to like be a part of the process. Maybe not necessarily like get their what I'm looking
taxation.
for, get their hands dirty. But so like once KYC is established and all these things, like if you want to be able to use this like great new Lightning Network technology, where you can finally send Bitcoin and not have to wait at least 10 minutes for a confirmation for the money to go through and stuff like that, then you're going to have to have given like all your personal information to these entities so that you can use their channels to be able to send that amount of money. Am I incorrect?
Let me hold on. Let me get Jimmy Song live here, and he can debate some of this stuff. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Jimmy Song, one of the lead core devs. I I I think that you can run Lightning Network without going through traditional channels. I think that there's going to be KYC on a lot of stuff. I think that government's going to get involved with everything. But the beauty of Bitcoin in and of itself is that, and a lot of cryptocurrencies, is that all you need is a phone and an internet connection, and you can, if you know what you're doing, you can bypass governments. Now it's going to get more complicated as we go along, and hopefully governments kind of take a hands-off approach. But I just know that's not going to happen. And let's not forget what the idea of decentralized currency was to do in the first place, and that was to remove the power of government to be able to moderate these cryptocurrencies in the first place. Now, KYC and AML and government intervention is going to be completely unavoidable, but the idea behind cryptocurrency is to facilitate a technology that makes it, as technology gets more and more advanced every single year, that government gets so far behind, and that decentralization and ease of use becomes so far ahead of the ability to regulate that it just becomes unfeasible. But maybe that's just my anarcho-capitalist dream.
I feel like the moment it becomes unfeasible to regulate it, then it'll just be banned. So I don't know if that's necessarily what we should be going for. Obviously, we want the least amount of regulation in it, but the government is none of the governments. Like, so I understand that there's people from other countries. So like, none of the governments are stoked about the idea of their citizens not having, or them not having a say in uh, how their citizens are performing economic activities. Because economic activities are so important to the functioning of any country. It's going to be run well.
I guess the point I was trying to make is that by the time they would become so unfeasible to regulate that governments would want to ban them, that would actually mean nothing to regular people. They'd be like, oh, the United States government just banned Bitcoin, and everybody'd be like, who
Oh,
cares?
that's cute.
Screw, yeah, right. Oh, that's cute. Like, no, we don't listen to them anymore. Like, um, all right, so let's. I don't know if you can see this chat. Comment on some of this stuff. Um,
I can't. I'll have to open this up.
Leonard Ben said some things. He said KYC and AML is going to be paramount moving forward. He said Coin has all that in 3-second blockchain. I'm in that ecosystem for 2 years. Awesome, Ben. Let us know how that plays. I'd like to know more about that Coin. Malta is the breathing ground for crypto. Absolutely, Malta's taken a hands-off approach and is trying to facilitate cryptocurrency companies innovating there. I like that their approach quite a bit, and I hope that, and I think that's what I say, or that's what I'm going to see, is that these powerful government, no strong government has lasted more than 300 years. So let's just take the long-term approach here for ourselves and for our children. All right, so technical analysis here, Alex.
Yeah, we should probably do some of that.
All right, let's
Okay.
just
So
one sec.
I
Hold
think
on, just a sec. Let me set up the. I restructured the screen, so I just gotta change it so that we can see better the charts. Make us small and Bitcoin large. Okay, so we talked about Fisher taking a look at price action. I mean, just obviously the only thing that I can say here is what's quite obvious. Looking here at the hourly chart, I mean, volatility is still extremely low. I mean, price is flatlining. The Kijun and the Tenkan on the Ichimoku, or moving averages, if you're using moving averages, are flatlining. And typically, low volatility is the best entrance into the market. And the post that I made last night in the premium channel, discord.krakencryptocurrency.com, if you guys want to share in our success and join our trading group, is that in my eyes, the best approach right here is, since the market is in such a low level of volatility, we know that entering into low volatility is the best entrance. Entering into high volatility is not your best bet. If you want to enter at the absolute best time for a position, whether you're in an uptrend, a downtrend, or a sideways market, low volatility is the best place to enter, especially if you have large amounts of capital. That means your limit orders are going to be able to get filled. When you're trying to get in on high volatility, you're either going to get left behind or you're going to get laddered in. So low volatility is often the best place to enter, especially because low volatility precedes high volatility. So if you're right in your bet, the only
This
problem.
would actually be a great place to enter with a hedged position where you
Took the words right out of my
no,
mouth.
sorry, yeah, where you just have you like let's say you have two accounts on BitMEX. You set one to go long, you set one to go short at this price level, and then not like a tight stop, but like a relatively tight stop. And then when just outside of the range of the current volatility, and then when price shoots off in whatever fucking direction it's going to end up shooting off in, then you're stopped out of the losing trade, and the winning trade continues on, and I think now I only have one BitMEX account, so this is theoretical about the best way to handle this situation right here, where it's so tight, and as much as like TA is helpful in maybe determining the future direction of the market, like there's really no way to know.
Well, I think that rather than getting stopped out, I absolutely agree with you. It's almost like you read my. It's almost like you read my post. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You have two. But you have two.
I might have read your post. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So instead of having, BitMEX obviously isn't available to everybody. So whatever leveraged or non-leveraged or whatever exchange that you're using in your country, if for your location, if you have the ability to open long and short positions on an exchange, then generally the best thing to do is to have one long position open and one short position open, and you can have laddered entrances in both directions. So you can have multiple entry positions, limit orders set to the long side, and multiple limit orders set to the short side. And you can enter right now at current price with a good position of your with a good position with a good size of your position, 5 to 10% of your capital, of your position size. And then what you can do is ladder out of, let's say you do that and then price breaks to the downside. Well, you can start slowly laddering out of your longs because your gains on the short side are going to cover your losses. Your gains are going to cover your losses, and then you can start laddering out of your long and adding to your position to the short side. So then you've completely hedged your loss, and you've actually profited because as you move more to the downside, that's the professional way to manage risk and hedge your portfolio.
And of course, an even better way to do it is if you can get your long high, or excuse me, you can get your long low, and if you can get your high short, then you can also sort of guarantee yourself profits.
Yeah.
Which is always nice.
So, looking at areas here of support and resistance, we're ranging right now. I've measured this last movement on the Fibonacci, and the recent range from the low to the high, and right now we're consolidating between the 236 and the 382 of the Fibonacci retracement, and we have not had a break above, really above or below that. We did have a one candle close below the 236, and that was that last dip to 6,110. And we had an aggressive 13 on that candle, and we immediately moved all the way to the upside to the 382, and now we are consolidating again.
But we're consolidating
right around the 236, and we've actually even tightened up the range. So when we moved all the way to the upside to the 382, I know a lot of individuals wanted to take the short position all the way back down to the 236, and that is still a reliable position to be into. We're just moving sideways, and we're consolidating along that 236 fib of just that last movement, and also right along the Tencon on the 60-minute chart. Looking at I want to look at RSI and see if I can see any divergence here. So here we have, there are some signs here of RSI is basically confirming these movements. We have a low and then a pretty equal low, but on the RSI it's a slightly higher low, and then we have a higher low, and a higher low confirms that on the RSI, and we have equal, but it's neutral though because the highs are equal and they're also equal on the RSI. So volatility is the same either way, and I'm not seeing any strong divergence on the RSI to tell us which direction we might break to.
Yeah, on the hourly, everything is looking like consolidation right now.
All right. Let's switch to the 4 hour, see if we see anything on the larger time frame.
What do you think about the 3 hour instead of the 4 hour? I feel like there's no information on the 4 hour that isn't on the 3 hour, except you get the 3 hour an hour earlier.
Okay. Let's see here.
I mean, this is my experience over time. Let me.
I don't think this pattern applies here. I just drew kind of an ascending triangle. I'm looking at it kind of like a bear. Uh, almost like a bull flag, I guess. On the 3 hour, we have the three white knights moving up when we bounce off that 236. Fibonacci retracement up to the 382, and then price kind of consolidates slightly to the downside here as we're seeing. The pattern isn't perfect, but you can see that channel right there.
But I don't know. We've seen similar movements like this before. Like where if we were to move over a little bit to let me find like a past region what I'm talking about here. I don't know. I've looked at too much price action recently. Who knows where it is. It reminds me of something.
Well, we see the same thing here. This is a bull flag. If you look back a little bit on the 3rd of October, price bounces, moves up, and then we have a bull flag. Price bounces, moves down, consolidates sideways, bounces up, moves down, and then we broke down. We had the bear flag right here. So, with price moving down and completely sideways, it's not moving up or down. It's just a sideways consolidation channel between that 236 and the 382, low volatility. That's why, I mean, ultimately, we said the best thing for individuals to do already, which is to hedge their positions with simultaneous long and shorts.
Yeah, that's the ideal right now.
Let's go ahead. You want to go ahead and just look at the 12 or the daily then and start going to these larger time frames?
Pull out the Fisher for a second. Set it to 7. So what interests me here is it looks like on the 3 hour, Bitcoin might be attempting to establish an uptrend. So we are seeing a bounce off of 0 here.
Let's
crossover.
I wanted to maximize this for everybody to see. Okay, go ahead. Here's our 0 line right here, and we do have the Fisher moving above it, so we're above the signal line. Signal line clearly, obviously lagging behind as it always does. And so, yeah, I mean, if this violent spike down to 2.86, we had an established uptrend with our one low on the 7th of October, and then the 10th of October, and then this recent one on the 13th. But that low on the 11th, I mean, essentially would have kind of throws off. Actually, if you go back, the 3rd of October too is where we start seeing that ascending trend line.
Hey, I have a question. Are you using Heikin-Ashi right now?
No.
Your Fisher's just being calculated differently than mine. Yours has it bottoms below 0 here, but mine it bottoms like at 0. Maybe I'm using open, high, low, close, or let's see, what am I using here?
That changed it a little bit, but not super much. Yeah, I got some different highs and lows. So let's take a look at Heikin-Ashi. Yeah. Yeah. Downtrend, up, down, sideways consolidation, and that green's just not able to break above. The volume looks, the volume's slightly rising to the bullish momentum, but the price action's just not able to do much right now.
Well, you know, here is something interesting. There's actually a pretty big bull div, or excuse me, bear div, um, and that's from the uh, the quote unquote high on October 10th, right before it dipped, to the high on the indicator on October 12th.
Hey, Gary Vaughn, welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us, ma'am. Into USD to gold, the into crypto. Yeah, are you talking about the decline, or are you talking about evaluation and investment moving sideways? I'd be interested to see where you're coming from that.
Are you talking to me?
No, I was commenting on Gary Vaughn, the newest member of the stream.
Oh.
All right, go ahead. Continue with what you were saying there, Alex. Sorry.
Oh yes. Anyway, this is a pretty big bear div, but I don't know if it might have already. No, there's no way it could have already completed. Let me show you what I mean. I'm just gonna drop this into the mods only chat. You can pull it up or whatever.
All right, and then I should just be able to open this bad boy. And oh, cool! Yeah, it came right up. Awesome.
Excellent.
That is yeah, that is a pretty significant bear dip there on that Fisher. We have significant price action move to the downside, yet that sine wave strength spiked up significantly.
Yeah, but you know, I see the thing about divs is that I'm wondering if maybe if this one just didn't complete because there's already been a Fisher bottom since then.
Yeah, we did bottom above. We're looking at potentially bottoming above the zero. Now this can change quite rapidly, if price moves to the downside, and then when we relook at this, we'll be like, oh, it didn't bottom there at all.
That is true. We'll definitely see plenty of places on the Fisher where it's turned around briefly and then turned back around.
Yeah, right here, right here, right here. Just point some places out for the viewers. All right.
All right, 6 hour.
6 hours,
12,
fine.
I think.
Yeah, let's go ahead. Yeah, let's go ahead and go to the 12.
All right.
Take a bigger look at this. So, for the people watching, the descending triangle pattern formation that we had been kind of charting for a while, obviously we broke down out of that, and then we had this ascending wedge pattern formation right here. We broke down out of that. So one thing that I do just want to point out that if we break to the downside using fib extensions, our next levels of support I'm seeing are 5706, 5346, and then I don't see anything below us till 4413, and that's not even using historic resistance and or support. That we see that 5736 does line up with resistance, and so does the 4375. Those correlate with also the fib extensions of the price action that we've seen since right here. So I just took fib extensions and reversed them from here, here, and here. And I don't think we want to start looking up at here, but those are potentialities that we need to look at if we do see a situation, as I was talking about earlier, where we do have something of a meltdown and it breaks into things, because the higher peak puts us down at 3,310. So these are just situations that an individual looking at their portfolio and looking how they want to hedge their risk, these These are things that you guys just need to be aware of and plan accordingly. Leonard, we are based in the United States.
Yeah, I'm
Thank,
in California.
thank you for asking.
He's in BFE.
I live between the mountains, between the Appalachians and the Rockies.
That is an area. That is an area where people live.
All right, I got about 10 more minutes, Alex.
Okay.
So, is there anything interesting that you see here on the 12 hour that you wanted to talk about?
What is interesting is that the Fisher is forming a bottom on on look back period 6. So yeah, on the 12-hour, and it's funny because it's so tentative right now. The candle hasn't closed, um, and if you put it on look back period 7, there's not a bottom yet. So it's a very new thing if it is forming. So it could change over the next 6 hours before the candle closes. But here, let me show you what I mean. So
You got a pretty well descending trend line too on that Fisher.
yeah,
It's bounced off of it 4 times now.
yeah,
And every time it's bounced, we've seen some good price action. I'd be
yeah,
where
and because like this candle hasn't even closed yet, like it's like yeah, like sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say though, looking back, so I'm looking at those 4 bounces off of the trend line and the relative movement to the upside that we've seen. However, I mean this just goes right along with the contracting volatility. Every single subsequent move was of significant less volume. So if this bounce off the trend line is going to continue in that pattern of reducing volatility, then I mean, you're looking at maybe a $50 move, maybe a $25 move, sadly, to the upside.
That could be, especially because I mean, this is not a bottom forming above zero. Like this is not like, oh, it's an uptrend that's starting. It's like, oh, we might not drop down out of the bottom of this support zone right away. It might take us a few more days.
Shout out to Ireland, Leonard. Glad to have you join us, man.
All right. Now let's move on to the day. Like that's all I'm really seeing. That's on the 12-hour. That's super important.
All right.
All right. So basically we have it looks bearish on the 1 hour. It looks maybe like basically neutral, slightly positive on the 3 hour. 12-hour is maybe positive. It depends on how it closes. Um, on the day, that just looks like crap. The day looks like absolute crap. And
The day looks horrible, yeah.
yeah, and if you just leave it on the Fisher Transform 6, you can see that Bitcoin tried to establish an uptrend. It was the Fisher was staying above zero, it was bottoming above zero, and then it couldn't stay there, and it made one final top and broke down, and I think we've got a lot more room to drop here.
Yeah. Yep. I do believe you are absolutely correct, sir.
I think I would like to see a successful retest of about 59.50, that support level, the one that's only been tested once or twice, before we see any change in the status of Bitcoin. Like if we do establish another uptrend, then it'll be after that test.
So I'm gonna just zoom to the 1 hour so I can kind of point out to everybody what we're talking about here. So overall price is forming lower highs. So we're looking for, this last high was formed at 62.05 and our last low was established at 61.93. So we're dealing with right now basically a $10 differentiation in price. So there's not much room for price to move right here. Is this next movement going to be a $5 move up or down? So once these, I think that we're going to see price move fairly violently. Like I said, obviously we've got our 236 and our 382. You know, once price moves above, I think if we see price move above 6205, I mean, I think that we're going to have to pull down and retest this. Hold on a second. Let me draw. Yeah, I mean we're right there on that trend line. So the potentiality, whichever way we break right now, is I think going to be indicative of whether we go back up to test the 382 or we go back down to test the 236. And whichever way we go from there, but I'm leaning very strongly to the downside right now. I think the bulls have far too much to overcome at the moment. And again, you know, the
And
only
where are the buyers?
right, yeah, where are the buyers? They're just not there, man. The sellers are there, you know, consistently pushing price down, slowly but surely, and the buyers are just losing in. So unless we see some people log in with some either significant bullish momentum or negative or bearish bias, I'm just not seeing it. What I'm actually seeing, and I alluded to this earlier when I was talking, was that I just think it's far more likely that the people who are concerned about the bearish price actually log into their accounts and dump some of their Bitcoin so they can hedge their positions, their larger positions in more traditional markets.
Mm-hmm.
So
What about the 3-day? Ready? Let's power through it. I know you only got a few more minutes left.
yeah, no, it's cool. Heikin-Ashi is overwhelmingly to the downside.
Yeah, and when you shorten the Fisher length, I don't know, I said it's a 3 for a second, just I mean, which is 9 days per. Um, it looks like it's the Fisher is trying to slide itself below 0.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, you know, like I said, on Heikin-Ashi, I mean, you can see the pattern of lower highs and higher lows contracting. So the Fisher's in a nice symmetrical triangle, which again, as I've spoken about many times, people see a triangle and they want to be like, oh, it's a triangle, we're going to go to the upside. No, that's not how it works. Symmetrical triangle is a continuation pattern that generally continues the dominant trend. The dominant trend is to the downside.
You know, turn. Do you have VP? Do you have VPVR?
No, I can throw it on real quick though.
What I'm looking at here is okay. So this is Heikin-Ashi 3-day and with the VPVR on. So I actually think we just broke down. So VPVR shows you volume by price rather than the normal volume indicators will show you volume by time. Like, when did all this volume take place? So it took yesterday rather than, all this volume took place at like 6,500 or whatever. So it seems like Bitcoin did finally sort of, swirl itself around that point of control.
Absolutely.
And then ultimately broke down from it.
What's interesting is looking on the 3-day, you know, after we had that massive movement down and we found that initial support around that, 6,000 level, we moved back up, and then if you have Ichimoku on, we got rejected right from basically the 9-day moving average from the Tenkan, and then we pulled back to the 386, which is pretty much identical with the point of control. We made another attempt to move back up after breaking above the point of control, and we got rejected from the Tenkan again, and that's when we broke down through that point of control. So the bulls have to push us above 6,488 for us to even think that we're moving to the upside.
I just don't see it happening. We can't even make it over 6,300 right
now. No, it's looking really rough, guys. It's looking really rough. All right, I'm gonna turn off.
Wait. The weekly.
Oh yes, of course. Weekly gives us the point of control at 65.01. Looking at TD sequential, which I think is more poignant here on the higher time frames, we can see here that the price turned around on the weekly on this doji reversal candle, which was a 9 count to the downside that completed. We struggled to make a move up, and we get rejected from the Tenkan again right here. We had 2 weeks of upside. We get rejected from the Tenkan moving average, and we move down. We bounce on the 236, find support, aren't able to move above it. We break down again through the point of control right here, but then we're able on the very next week to close above it. We move to the upside, we get rejected roughly from the Tenkan again, and now we're consolidating, and now we are looking like we're going to close down below the point of control again. Now we have closed below the point of control twice before, and the very next candle was able to push us up, but each time you can see here, this series of weeks, this month, tried to move us up above. We closed below the point of control here. And then we have a few weeks of upside, a month of upside right here. We get rejected from the Tenkan. We get pushed down. We close below the point of control again, and we move up. But look how weak that move is relative to this move. Much less volatility. We're not even able to make, this last move took us all the way to 8,476. The next move was only able to take us to 7,340. And then we break down again. We close below the point of control. And Alex, this last move was only able to take us up to 6,823. And now we're breaking down again below the point of control.
Yes, and this is with all the supposedly bullish news that, I mean, it's not like there's been bad news that has been, sort of raining down on the market. It's actually, like, if you look at it, it's been a good year for crypto news.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been any huge exchange scandals. There have been some, but mostly in other countries. There haven't been large scale 51% attacks like we thought there were going to be. At the beginning of the year when people started renting hash power and there were all those 51% for like a couple weeks. It's been a good year for crypto, but like price just there's not much bullish interest right now.
Yeah, it's been a good year for crypto news. In fact, all everybody's talking about right now is the ETF news that's supposed to come out on the 26th.
They're going to postpone it again.
They're going to postpone it again. I'm tired of talking about Bitcoin ETFs. It's we'll see it when we get it, guys. It's all I've heard every couple of weeks for the entire year. So, all right, guys. So my summary, and I think Alex agrees with me, is that we are overwhelmingly bearish to look into the downside, and we can just see that this is pretty ugly, guys. And we already talked about the potential target. Yep, you're right, Scott. That rejection is right below TDST as well. So overwhelmingly to the bearish, guys. And right now we are on a 4 of 9, and we're trading below the 3. So there is definitely a short on the table.
Which is definitely not as cool as 7 of 9.
It's not as cool as 7 of 9. Where would your stop loss be if you were trading on this weekly time frame? Well, you would have entered into your short actually right here once we started trading below this 3 at 6,407, and your stop loss in this market would have been right here at the true high of your 1 at 6,811. And right now, since price is moving in your favor, I would probably go ahead and set my stop at 6,632 and move that down to the top of candle 3. All right, guys. Let me pop back out here real quick, and let's see here, just real quick. No, that's you. Window capture 4.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for paying attention to us, guys. We appreciate it.
Where do I? Oh, there we go. Okay. There's the chat stream, but it seems like it's not popping up. Oh, Akaris Risen is joining us. Good point. All right, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. Justin Wise for Cracking Crypto, Alexander Pearson. Make sure to, guys, if you guys like this video and you want to see more of this content, subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment down below giving us your questions. I will go ahead and probably edit this coming out in a little bit because there were some technical difficulties at the very beginning, but we appreciate you guys coming in a little bit more as we were going on. I'm going to be trying to do this every weekend, at least on the live stream. We put out videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, articles generally every day throughout the week. and we take Sundays off. So discord.crackingcryptocurrency.com. Please join the community or check out the website at crackingcryptocurrency.com. That's all I got. Alex, you got anything? Alex, you wanna pump anything? You got any coin you want to pump or socials you want to pump?
Mm, not particularly. This is not financial advice, but there are some good coins out there right now. But I am definitely very squeamish because of what's going on with Bitcoin. Bitcoin can take the entire market with it.
Absolutely. And it seems like my upstream is kind of dying, so it's probably a good place to call it. So